Hello, mate. You alright?
Hello, who's that?
It's Big Yak.
Oh, is that Yak from the YakChat?
Yep,
Oh,
that's me.
Hello, mate. Hello. Sorry, I didn't know who it was. I'll take my face mask off because we're mates. It's all right.
Yeah, because we know each other. We can be within 2 meters of each other.
It's only if I didn't know you.
Works.
That'd be a problem.
Yeah.
But I know who you are. I know your family.
Yeah, I know you.
I know your mum. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, no. Me and his fucking uncle go way back.
He ain't got it. It's fine. I know he ain't. I know him. I know he ain't got it. How you doing anyway?
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm locked down. I'm locked up. They won't let me out.
Cuffing season's got
Boris
a whole
might
new
let
meaning,
me
man.
out. What's got a new meaning?
Cuffing season.
Yeah, just, I'm a cuff yo. No. Do you know what the ironic thing as well is Tory Lanez has actually been doing loads of stuff. It is cuffing season. It's not. No, was it? Oh no, it was Trey Songz that did this one. Here's a penny dropper. I miss the R&B.
Except for no one can drop their panties in lockdown.
Yeah, and from R&B to R&D.
R&D.
If you haven't heard about the new government NHS app.
What a segue.
Obviously you have, Nat. I mean the audience right now. Built to accompany, or maybe built to accompany special teams and even the army in their new contact tracing strategy that no one knows what it actually is. By having an efficient way of declaring yourself symptomatic, we can get the people into quarantine and self-isolation that need to be and put them in contact with a member of the tracing team, which will be a human, who'll keep contact up via phone during your personal isolation period, hoping that this is all at a faster rate than the traditional methods. And we can also let people know when they've been in the vicinity of someone ill, although so long as you were in that vicinity for 15 minutes and a Bluetooth connection was maintained that whole time. So you yourself can maybe choose to avoid coming into contact with others until 7 days has passed and you still aren't showing symptoms. It sort of places the power in your own hands a little bit. Some are suggesting those that can't self-isolate from vulnerable family may be offered hotel rooms, and the most, I will add, every single media outlet seems to have a different idea of what this really is going to be for, sort of bottom line, tagline, selling line. But the most consistent one I can find is that we will effectively attempt to replace general lockdown with this app and contract tracing strategies. Let us know your initial thoughts or any rumours you've heard in the comment section below. Let's get the conversation going. A paper, I'll just kick this off, yeah? A paper published by Oxford Uni's Big Data Institute, doesn't sound scary at all, does the task of trying to measure the effectiveness of such an app. And here's a few of their key findings, some more assumptive than others, of course, and I must add, at no point does this report intend to or accidentally address ethical reasons for or against. Their report is merely about the effectiveness of the app and contact tracing. So it's just a few bullet points from their 30-page report, I think it is. We find that the epidemic can be suppressed with 80% of all smartphone users using the app. That's 56% of the whole population. So their data, I'm going to sound stupid just simplifying this, can suppress the epidemic if 80% of all of us with a smartphone use it. And the next bullet point, compared to release from lockdown with only self-isolation of symptomatic individuals and no app, all configurations of the app, so no matter what version of the app these guys have managed to get their hands on, all of them result in a substantial reduction of new cases, according to their data, hospitalizations and ICU admissions as well. And in a couple of them, a substantial number of lives are saved by it. Next bullet point is that testing to release people from quarantine rather than testing to initiate quarantine will increase the numbers in quarantine at the peak, but will lead to less infections and deaths overall. So by letting people self-declare rather than wait for a test result, it might mean that more people go into quarantine straight after lockdown, but it will lead to less illness and death the following weeks and months. The next bullet point is their results show that usage of the app directly correlates to the time at which a second lockdown becomes necessary. So, assuming that any use of this app will lead to positive results isn't true just because compared to not you doing anything, it gets a positive result. You'd assume that anything would give a better result than nothing. That's just, you know what I mean? It would be pretty fucking stupid otherwise. More app usage means more time between first and second lockdown. So if more of us use the app, they reckon that the gap between this lockdown we're in now and the second wave will be bigger. And in 2 different app scenarios, which they didn't really allude a lot to, meant there was no second lockdown at all. So according to this data, they're pretty firm on this idea that using an app to self-declare or whatever is going to be a big part of the test, get everyone back to work. I will get to it in a bit, obviously, but part of me feels like this is more to persuade you to get the app than it is actual proof that the app's going to work, because nearly all of the data they can put into their machine is a guess.
Yeah, and it's also there isn't a lot of data out there in countries that have used it. It's all
assumptions.
So it's pretty much at this point all based on just, assumptions on what.
Do you reckon? Yeah.
What data are you? It'd be different if they had years and years of data.
Well, this is it. Even compared to SARS-1 and MERS, this is a different ball game. It's a different illness. They might be in the same family, but like so are us and chimps.
And the world's
doesn't
a
mean we're
much
the same.
different place now as well. The way that we live and work is completely different.
Yeah. Well, I think how much do we share 98% the genetic makeup with chimps?
Don't know. You'd have
Is it something around that, isn't it?
I'd imagine, yeah.
Well, 97. Well, this disease and SARS-1 only shares 79% of its genetic makeup.
Yeah.
So the science we have on SARS is helpful, but it isn't how we're gonna get out of it all.
And it doesn't also that's not to mention things like mutations and stuff within itself as well. And
exactly
as that goes, like we all have different mutations and things that it wouldn't even be considered mutations, but how different we are, how many different combinations we can come in as humans and stuff. Just shows really how little that we actually do know and how little data we have on it at the minute.
Yeah.
But
it's where was it? I think it might have been the Los Angeles Times. I was literally reading today. I haven't finished the article, so I'm not gonna declare it. But they reckon I'll have a read of it later. But they reckon it's transformed into not necessarily more deadly, but it's more transmissible than it was at the start.
More contagious.
So it's easier to pass around. Yeah. That's the word.
That's the word. We need one of them. What's it called? What's that program when it does the flashing thing? Oh, is it QI or something?
Oh, what what's it? Something word, isn't it? Yeah.
Need one of them.
And it's always that guy, same old Simon, isn't it? He actually did like a big documentary at my school.
Really?
Because obviously we had like the big science department and that. Mad, yeah. None of us knew it went on, and it just got aired, and everyone's like, "What?"
This is one of the reasons why we need H as well. By the way, me and you, we've actually. I've just realised this is me and you, our first time doing one together. Oh no, our second time. H was there last time when we did the other one on information, but we've got to make sure that
H is like our manager.
Yeah.
He keeps this in line. It's a shame that we're not live streaming this, because otherwise people can't keep us in check.
That's what I mean.
Comment section, but we're
trying. We need to make sure we don't go off on a tangent, because that's my middle name.
Yeah.
I love a tangent.
Mr. The Tangent, the Newt.
Yeah.
Now, well, a couple of the other bullet points. Sorry, I was trying to think what they're called. I'm looking straight at a bullet point, thinking, "What are you called, little man?" The accuracy with which Bluetooth low-energy signatures can be converted to useful proxies of transmission risk is currently uncertain. So the actual idea of using Bluetooth they don't even know if it'd work yet. And under current PHE guidance, that's Public Health England, Manual contact tracing requires cases to list close contacts over the past 7 days that were within 2 meters and lasting 15 minutes or more.
Oh, so you have to snitch other people up as well.
Well, this is it. Apparently, when you declare yourself symptomatic, when your isolation team member or whatever rings you up, you have to give the names of who you've been in contact with. But at the same time, they also said that those people have to contact the NHS through the app themselves.
So what if you don't know the names of the people?
Well, this is it. If these people have to sign up themselves anyway, why do they have to know their names? This is what another few things just makes me. It really sounds like they're building a database. There's so many questions about like the actual effectiveness of it. The only thing that they can use it for is just collecting data, not using it to any good.
I think
it's just collecting information.
Even if it's not a malicious, like just play devil's advocate and say like if it's not them, you collecting it for a database or to use maliciously.
It's who they sell it to.
Well, it's that, and also if it falls into the wrong hands, it's the fact that you're creating it and it's there.
Yeah.
That's the integrity.
You created
of the
a temptation.
Do you know what I mean? It's there. You've created a nuclear bomb.
Should we use it? We have just got it there. We could just use it. No one will know.
But it's also the other thing is whose hands that it falls into. They created. Was it Einstein that invented the nuclear bomb and then or tried to hide his plans? Apparently.
I never heard about that.
Well, before anyone else could get hold of it. That's what I heard anyway. But the fact is, you've created. That might be
for another episode.
Yeah. Well, the fact is that you've created. You've researched and you've created this new way of killing people. That can fall into your enemy's hands. That could fall into some criminal's hands. So
just look at the fight for information after the Second World War.
Yeah, that's
like everybody was trying to kidnap each other. The Cold War kind of started through everyone trying to get a technological up on each other.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing right now as well. Is scamming is at an all-time high. All of this stuff is really sort of like prevalent right now. Imagine if these criminals got hold of a database of everyone that's reported that they've been in contact with someone. Spoofing emails, you can easily spoof an email and send things out like telling people, oh, you need to buy this, you need to buy these face masks, you need to buy this drug, and you have to take all this stuff. Scamming people's money out their accounts, never actually sending them anything.
Do you want to grow 2 inches in 7 weeks?
Do you know what? You've got to click on them just out of curiosity.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like building a computer where I just explore the viruses of the world.
I saw one on Twitter the other day. It was some ridiculous photoshopped image, and someone said I clicked on it just to know some more about what they were even trying to sell. Maybe that's
the bluff of the fraud. They're so stupid that you click on it thinking they're stupid, and then they just go,
and then really,
your house.
They've got a script running in the background mining Bitcoin using your GPU.
They've just used your IP address to download thousands of the images of celebrities. The Fappening 2.0. Do you remember the Fappening?
Fappening.
When that guy hacked all of their iCloud accounts and released all the naked pics of the celebs.
Yeah.
They're still online, The whole database is still online.
Well, you'll never get rid of anything like that.
The Fappening, for all my Jones Collins Feats HD compilation boys out there. The real shits.
No, but going back, I'm going to step in and do a H here because we need to get back on track. Where were we? About the app. So
I was just about to. I just said that about the staying within 2 meters and the contact having to last for 15 minutes or more via Bluetooth for it to be registered as you being in their vicinity.
Is that how the virus works as well? Is that based on research that it spreads within 15 minutes of you breathing the same air as people?
No, that's just what they've chosen to do. Yeah, I don't think that's anything to do with technicality. I think that's more just what they think is the best way. It can change though. By no means is what we're saying today the finished product. Hence, it hasn't been released yet. But I could ask my bird. I could run up on you, have sex with you, spit on your face, and have 10 minutes left. And technically, I haven't come into contact with you.
Yeah.
What? Like, that's such a big hole.
Yeah. 15 minutes.
15 minutes? We've only just been going for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Has it been that long already?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've only just come into contact with each other, apparently. Apparently, I've only just called you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will add as well, before we move on, the people that wrote the report did say a key limitation of this report and the current version of their model, as in their model to see how well an app would work, is a lack of consideration of hospitals and healthcare workers. Non-sociomeal transmission in hospitals is likely to continue even throughout lockdowns, and this could continually seed infections into the population.
Yeah.
So this is another thing with this isn't necessarily gonna like guarantee that we get rid of it or defeat it.
Yeah.
It's what it is it allows people to go back to work, and it allows people to dig their own grave, in a sense of like, oh, I thought you were symptomatic. What are you doing at the supermarket? Oh, so you're not ill, but you're not at work.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be all that.
It's it's interesting. Like I think it's going to give a lot of people like that false sense of security as well. You know, if you haven't been around someone that you think that you are okay, but you don't know that you haven't touched things that people have that have had it and passed on through, you know, touching things and touching your face, or like we were saying before about people that are stroking each other's dogs, walking past someone's house, stroking their dog, the dog runs back in. It doesn't defeat, just because you haven't been around someone, it doesn't defeat the whole.
This virus isn't psychological.
Yeah.
You can't close your eyes and say, I can't see you.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean?
Or haven't. Yeah, it's one of them ones that it's going to be. I think it would give a lot of people this false sense of security that they aren't around people. The other thing is as well.
Yeah. I haven't come into contact with anyone, so surely no one's got it.
Well, the thing is as well. Surely you've got to know that you've got it right before you input that into the app.
You've got to know that you've got symptoms.
Okay, so but at that point, isn't the official advice is to isolate as soon as you have symptoms anyway, right?
Yeah, and it has been since like February. It's been
Okay.
way before lockdown.
So what I want to know is, how does an app, how does that change anything? So if I know I've got symptoms,
It doesn't. The only thing that's different is that they know.
Yeah.
And they have your permission to use that as data.
But then
That to me, there is no straight away positive gain for you. You don't get more healthy with the app in your pocket.
Yeah, I think that's
like you said.
That's one of the things that you have to look at when you consider the ethics of these sort of things, is the utilitarian approach, whether the benefit to the user or society outweighs the risk.
Yeah. If they have to lie about the benefit, generally the risk outweighs the benefit as well, don't it?
But
as we should know with data firms by now as well. Like, it might not be mainstream news, but this hasn't left the news for years. And it's not just going to go away by one person doing a good app or one person not using that data. It's a perpetual issue. Well, your data is going to be gathered for the rest of your life.
Well, I think
and it's more valuable than gold.
Yeah, and I think they say that it's 3 pieces of information you need to identify a person. So this app's obviously going to collect a lot more than that. So even if they say like the whole use of it is anonymous data, you only need 3 things to be able to identify one person in the world, apart from everyone else.
Yeah,
so
you don't need to follow them around.
Exactly, and if that falls into the hands of someone that isn't, using it for good reasons, or falls into the hands of criminals, you're able to, 1, know someone's had the infection, and 2, you've got a lot of ways of identifying them and finding who they are. Scamming is one of the real big issues I can see. Like, if that data falls into the wrong hands. But yeah,
the NHS sold our patient data to US firms in December, and actually sold a lot of our GP data to Amazon for free so that it could aid Alexa's development. It's our GP data, personal data. And I might add, for everyone sitting at home thinking, I ain't got nothing to hide, 75% of all the data criminal agencies hold on people aren't criminal data. It's non-criminal. It's personal information. It's who you know, who you're friends with. Not like they don't have to follow your every step to know that you've been at 5 places today.
I'm going to try and find a good video that you need to go and watch on Edward Snowden speaking about this years ago, speaking about the way that in the future this whole like footprint, your data footprint, can be used to
against you.
It's like the whole Minority Report situation, isn't it? Painting someone that's seemingly innocent, well, is innocent, as a criminal if you put them under enough scrutiny. I mean, you could anyone could be a criminal if you scrutinise them enough. And that's one of the issues with the...
Exactly. This is such a political hot mess, like data, politics and all of this. Like,
do you know what one of the biggest problems as well that I see is that these laws, and it's always been the way, but laws are being made by people that don't even know how to turn a computer on.
I know. I know.
How can you make a law about something you really don't understand? Which I guess is partially like, it's quite good in a way that that we're seeing the whole thing with Apple and Google, like having to use their Bluetooth notification system. It's good to know that they actually do have laws in place. Companies like Apple and Google that are supposed to protect you from them building like social graphs. Well, this is the thing.
Like that.
It's law, and it's law that they have to abide by. But when, like you say, that the government are going to roll out, we're looking to roll out. I don't know if they're still going to do it or they're going to use the Apple and Google's technology. But when the person who's making the rules is governing themselves, surely that can only open the door to a lot of...
It's exactly the same as the landlord argument, isn't it? How can every MP be a landlord and make laws on housing?
Yeah,
It's always going to favour them.
Exactly.
Like, people don't realise, like, not to drag us into this mud, but people don't realise how unique Corbyn is. There isn't other versions of him in Parliament. He's the only one that would have done something against his own interest that's for someone else. He's the only person that would have let someone else share his home, that would have let someone come round for dinner if they want. Do you know what I mean? There isn't another politician like that. They will always serve their own interests. So this idea that landlords and people that are part of tech boards but don't understand tech can, do you know what I mean? Like, they're just so fucking tied in to the profits of all these industries, but not actually how they work. They have no understanding of how they got to that point. They just know that it's right that they make money at our expense.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's the thing. If you're the one making the rules,
doesn't change that. Yeah.
If you're the one making the rules, if you're the referee, and you can imagine if Diego Costa was a ref as well.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And why people are like, yeah, but data's like a bit personal, so they wouldn't do that. And you think like, bruv, they do all sorts. Do you know, we've been bombing Iraq since we've been on lockdown, okay? If they will bomb children, they aren't gonna be that bothered about whether they've got too much data on you or not, innit? Like, we've got to sort of put these things into consideration, that if they don't want to fund the NHS, they're not that bothered about our health. Do you know what I mean? And so things might have a positive effect on us, but there will always be another positive for them. We might have that sense of security now that we're all okay because we ain't come into contact with anyone ill, but they stand to make another profit on it that comes in the future, which is that data, the ability to sell that data, the ability to use that data. And it's exactly what they did with the Snoopers Charter. when they said, oh, all these terrorists, they're online, they are, so we're going to have access to all your online activity. And everyone went, well, do you know what I mean? It stops the bloody, do you know what I mean? And all you got to give people is one little positive, and they'll let you take everything off of them.
Cut their nose to spite their face.
Yeah, and it's not that people do that out of being stupid. It's that people do it out of a lack of information, a lack of context. And this is why 177 cybersecurity and privacy experts, I should say, signed an open letter to the UK government, because it's not that they are evil, that they are going to do evil things with it. It's you've got to understand that you can't give them the temptation to do it just because. Like,
and the implications of
no benefit is from that.
The implications of what you're opening up for the benefit of what you think you're going to get. What the potential harms are going to be if you don't know. It's like putting your hand in fire but having never understood what it means to get burnt, but you're going to try and get something out of the fire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I dropped my hat in the fire, so I've got to grab it. Yeah,
if you don't understand what that fire could do, it's up to someone else to step in and tell you. But it says a lot about the times that we're living in, doesn't it? As well, with technology moving so fast that it outpaces laws and outpaces the knowledge that people at the top have on it. It says a lot about the times that we're living in.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about it. You might. In general, people don't know a lot about it. Their leaders don't know about it. Only the private companies do. That's not the best scenario to put yourself in, innit? Like, we were in control the whole time, and somehow we've ended up in this situation where everyone's got the power over us, and it's an interesting. That's my information.
It's an interesting one because it's like even back to the whole like legislation and the way it works. I think to really, really oversimplify how it works, you're able to do things until they are made illegal. You can do things until you're told not to do them. Here, I think.
Yeah.
I think in France, it's a different thing where you're able. I don't know. Like I studied my masters with a few French students, and like from what I could understand, they were saying is that it's you're not allowed to do something without permission first to do it. It's almost like flipped on its head. Here we can do something until it's illegal, and then we're told we're not allowed to do it. Apparently,
if someone doesn't tell you not to do it, then how are you supposed to know?
Yeah, but I think it works differently in different countries and different laws, legal systems. But going back to this app though, and the whole thing about the people that are using it that would benefit from it most, not having access to it. So look at the elderly population. It says it relies on how many people to have smartphones in the population, but how many elderly people do you know that have and use smartphones or would even know how to use the app or,
Yes, and they even said themselves about healthcare workers. So healthcare workers and the vulnerable are the people that can't use it.
Yeah. It's.
So what's the point?
Yeah, it is. It does. It's sort of. There's a lot of questions about the effectiveness of it, whether it's actually gonna.
Can there be that much to gain?
The other thing is as well, like the accuracy of it. Does it pick up my neighbour who might be infected, but who I haven't actually been in contact with, like spoken to over the fence, just like shouting over the fence?
Yeah, because like you said, sometimes you're sitting at home, and someone accidentally connects to a Bluetooth device in your front room.
Someone always tries to connect to my smart TV. Yeah.
So if you're sat there, and your neighbour's on their Bluetooth and you're on their Bluetooth, is it gonna say that you, like you said before the show? Are you gonna have to isolate now?
Yeah, but I haven't actually been. And this is it's even worse for people that live in like tower blocks and. Do you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Like, or even not even just tower blocks. Like someone living above you in a flat. Bluetooth doesn't just go
that's it.
Left to right.
Even just neighbours, up, down. Like you said, Bluetooth doesn't just go to in front of you.
Yeah.
It goes in the atmosphere.
Yeah. All directions.
And if someone at the bottom is symptomatic of a flat block, let's say. The one above, okay, you've been into contact. Okay, 15 minutes later, the one above, you've been into contact with that person. 15 minutes, bro.
But I mean, it could spread both ways,
What's
obviously. But,
what's to gain
yeah.
out of that? I get the idea that an app, along with huge amounts of testing,
Yeah.
gives everyone a better idea, but they should be putting more money in to guaranteeing privacy.
Yeah.
Because if they did that, we'd all sign up to the app
Well,
and it would work.
I think that's
but if
the
they
whole
don't prove
idea.
we can trust them, no one's signing up to this app.
Well,
You can
I
guarantee
think
it.
that's the idea with using the technology that Apple and Google are proposing.
Everyone trusts it.
Well, I think it's got more of a privacy focus around it.
Yeah.
So it's
I
the
don't
way
trust
that
it per se.
It's the way that the messages are passed between the. Well, I only literally read very quickly a quick look at the documentation of the API, like and at the minute we're recording, what day is it today?
8th of May.
Yeah. So this is still in its draft proposal, but by the look of it,
Yeah.
what it is it's quite transparent. One is really weird to see Google's logo on the Apple website, on the Apple developer.
It's like the ultimate Supreme collab.
Wait,
Yeah. Hype beasts. Take a look at this one.
Mate, it's so weird to see that. Like, yeah,
It is. It's the link up you never thought was gonna happen.
I never thought I'd ever see that. It's like Barcelona and Real Madrid coming together to make an ultimate team. Like,
Yeah.
it
is.
Mate,
it is.
Never
It's like
I would never think I'd see that. It's like Harry Kane wearing an Arsenal shirt. Oh wait.
Yeah.
Shit.
Google it. No, but it's like Madrid and Barcelona, even though they kind of already do, but they could turn around and just be like, no, all of the TV money has to come through us now because we're the most trusted brand.
Yeah, you dominate the market.
And unfortunately, Apple kind of has done a lot to earn people's trust.
Yeah, they're
and
quite.
I don't want to dig them out.
Aren't they?
Yeah. Like so many governments have tried to forcefully take data from them, and they've been like, no. We have customer policy in it, which is like, in this day and age, that's fucking priceless.
I think they
to
are
have a
trying to
company
become
that values that.
They're trying to become that household brand of security.
They understand. Yeah, exactly. They understand exactly the same as green energy. You stand to make a lot more money from being popular than you do from forcefully undercutting and things like that. The good guys in business will make money if you've already got that big brand reputation in it. Like, it's just simple, innit? If you go into a shop and Apple and Huawei have got two phones, bro, like 99 out of 100 people are going, I don't trust Huawei. I can't trust Apple, innit?
Yeah.
That's it. They're winning the sales.
Yeah, it's but seeing that on the side, the thing that's good about it being decentralized from being like a government sort of
government held data. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more the way that the messages are passed between the phones. I think it's more of like a protocol that is a lot more anonymous and protects privacy. So it doesn't. So essentially, it's not saying you were infected by this person. So I think
at this time, at this place.
I think that's the idea, is that you don't know who you were infected by, but you know that you were around, or you might not even have been infected, but you know that you were around someone, because that is obviously a concern. You know, like imagine if you got infected by someone, and then you blame them for being the reason that you were infected. Like, you know, imagine like the claims that could come out of that. You know, if you.
Well, what's it going to be like when people are queuing?
If I've been around you and you infected me and hindered my ability to work, is that a claim in the future? Is there a claim there in the future? Are you the reason that I can't conduct business? You know what I mean? Like, that's the reason. Well, it's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why making sure that it's kept private, the information about who is infected and who's infected other people. I don't think we should know. I don't think we need to know. I think we just need to know that we have been infected and need to self-isolate. But it's just keep it as simple and as less information driven as possible. Well, and just make it straight. Well, that's one of the things. You need to go indoors. Their main focus is on privacy. But like you say, though, it is kind of weird and kind of scary to see. It's good to see like that they're working together during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But
Is a good analogy for what you said before we like go on with the using the different systems, a government centralized and a decentralized Google, Apple. Is the equivalence, say, the government option is like us messaging each other on their server. They have full access to it. We've done it. They've given us the platform to write to each other, so they have full ownership. And Apple, Google's more like us talking through an encrypted WhatsApp chat.
yeah, well, I guess
So like it would. There's a lot more barriers to getting into that data.
And the other thing is as well, it's you're going to be much more strictly regulated as a company than you are as the government, aren't you? If you're the guys making the rules, then you're going to be.
Oh no, that's fine. Why is it? Because we just decided.
Yeah, exactly. If you're if you're under scrutiny, this is why scrutinies can only be good for us as people and as users. You know, like having it in the hands of these or these companies. I suppose the only thing that'd be bad is they try and really milk it to make a lot of money out of it. Is the only thing. But yeah, being strictly regulated, a lot more strictly than a government is, that's beneficial for us. But I mean, between them, try and find a quick statistic for you on how much they actually own of the smartphone market. I think I've got some well, it's not up to date, but it'll give you a general idea of the amount of just the duopoly that they do hold of the market. And I'll compare that as well back in 2007. Back in quarter one 2009, an operating system called Symbian dominated the market, and that was the operating system that ran on Nokia's, LG, Samsung, etc.
Oh, right.
So you think that wasn't actually that long ago? Well, 11 years ago.
It's a decade. It's only a decade.
Yeah, and that was Symbian held monopoly over the market. iOS and Android. I mean, iOS had a bigger market share than Android did.
Because that was when iPod Touches and the iPhone really first come out.
Yeah, 2008. They would have had that over they would have had more share than Android, but the majority of phones weren't using iOS or Android, which is crazy. And then forward to 2017, which is when I had this research. It was the current climate in 2017 was that they had a collective share, iOS and Android between them had a collective share of 97% of the market. It's ridiculous. And I think the ratio of market share was 51 to 46 iOS to Android. But the thing to not be confused about with market share is it's based on the amount of money, not necessarily user base. I think that
because Huawei would compete just purely through population numbers, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's not got a massive market share, but the amount of people using it is it's
still insane.
The bigger market share. But going back to the point of these two being so in control of it, when they work together, they have that 97, or it's probably more now. We'll have to look up an actual statistic, but they have that market share over it. Control all the devices, and they've got that big say. Who else is going to, apart from governments, been laws being able to hold them to account? But that's what stagnates markets anyway, and getting locked in to these markets. And
whatever they give us is whatever's new.
It's the whole situation with Microsoft. And imagine if we were all using Internet Explorer still, the web would not have moved forward.
No,
I don't know if you've browsed the Chinese web, but they're still using IE5, and a lot of websites still use that, and it's just
the old MSN layout. So impossible to read.
Things don't progress when there's no one challenging ideas and like bringing forward innovations and stuff. When you can't get into markets, when there's high barriers to entry, and that I can see being a problem. Is the fact that these two, when they do work together, that competition between them. I'm an iOS guy, always have been, but I don't want Android to
I'm gang droid.
Are you okay? No, but I don't want them to completely disappear. Because
that competition has brought us all of these amazing things over the last few years.
Consumers so much. It's like the Intel and AMD war. You know, for ages, Intel just completely dominated the market. There's no competition with AMD. I mean, I stuck by AMD because I'm an AMD fanboy, always have been. Unlike certain people.
Got a tattoo on my thigh.
No, but AMD recently came back.
Was you about to call Sammy out then? You said certain people.
He did defect to Team Blue. I'm gonna have to say.
Pagan.
But that was before.
I should stop. Do you know what? I need to stop saying pagan because, like, the British religion is paganism. The people that enslaved us brought Christianity.
Yeah.
We aren't Christians. All right. Need to stop calling people pagans. It's not an offensive word.
That whole thing about Intel and AMD, these competitions in tech, people always trying to fight for to be better, can only be good for us as people. It's like the whole argument between Apple.
Tech's the biggest example of it as well. I think
we need that competition.
To exist as it is, it has to have the competition. Like you said, Intel, AMD, Apple, Google. Without them, a lot of the stuff we're looking at would look different.
Yeah.
Right now, if you know what I mean.
And the other thing that's good to see them competing is not necessarily just on a like a monetary basis. You know, like not trying to like compete on that in that way, but competing to see who is the best at handling data, who is the best at being better with privacy. That can
who's the most trusted.
Exactly. That can only be better for us as consumers.
Yeah.
And especially in a time like this as well, we need to be so careful with.
It's so important, bro. Because like, look at this. Like, the fact that there isn't any trust there means that one, people aren't going to use this app, and two, people aren't going to be getting vaccines. And that's, as much as I'm not like so much pro-vaccine, I don't think you can be like pro-injections or pro, like, do you know what I mean? It's very independent of what that vaccine is. You can't just be like pro every vaccine ever has worked 1,000,000%. Like, it's just not true, is it? Like, Bill Gates is in court at the moment because of swine flu things, and he'll admit that. He's admitted that on live telly. Like, vaccines aren't the be all and end all of medicine. It's not. This is like, people might paint it like that, but that's only to fight back against the people that are like, all vaccinations kill. Do you know what I mean? And so people take to the extremities to try and prove the other one wrong. Really, it's a little bit closer to the middle, isn't it? Some are good, some are bad. That's science. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it is that whole scrutiny. Like, I think that's been an underlying theme of this, about the whole way that scrutiny in any capacity and competition against each other in that sense is only benefits you as people, you know, like only benefits us as the end users, the people in the middle. What
I'm gonna do quickly, just before you talk about your interesting thing, I've got a more interesting thing to talk about. No, but you know, I said about the 177 cyber and privacy experts that have signed an open letter. They've made 3 demands, and I'll just go over these demands. So what the experts of these fields have specifically asked for is that the data protection protects. Oh, I'm fucking all over the shop.
I'm going to quickly shut my window because I don't know why recently.
Bro, I need to shut my window. I've been well trying to eye it up.
Recently, like, every single one of my neighbours has either decided to start mowing their lawns, chainsawing. Like, I've not heard a chainsaw start up around here apart from my dad's for like years.
Do you keep hearing people hammering metal things as well?
It's
why?
Like, what are you doing? No, that's 8 o'clock. That's when they bang the. That's when they bang the pan.
It's me sitting indoors like, what the fuck?
No, that's because they bang the pans for the key workers.
Clap for carers.
Yeah, I saw a kid the other day.
What did they clap for the I don't carers?
But I saw a kid the other day out in the street with a pan, and I don't think they knew what they were doing it for. Like,
no, it's just they just want to go outside, didn't it, and see people.
But I saw one, like, everyone else had gone back indoors, and I don't know why his parents hadn't called him back in, but he was just still.
Is this the one that was like smashing the bin?
Mate, he was back in.
Like, proper just trying to kick it in.
Why? You just like.
It's so isolate, mate. He hates his mom. He definitely hates his mom and stepdad. As soon as they were like, you can bang anything you want for the carers, he was like, oh, sure.
Well, I'm going to quickly shut my window. Carry on.
Yeah.
I'll be, alright, 2 seconds.
I need to shut mine.
We can go to a break and come back.
Yeah.
H transition.
Cut. That's good timing.
Hopefully
good
that
timing,
should
son.
be, hopefully that should, because, do you know what, this mic, you can hear, I can hear what you can hear, basically.
Yeah.
And I can hear,
Likewise.
like, every now and then I'm hearing a kid screaming in the background. And I'm thinking, but,
honestly, I ain't got no kids in the basement. No, but what these let's get back to the topic on hand. They're asking that the data protection impact assessment for the contract tracing application be released a time before launch and not just before, as usually companies do release it just before because there's not usually a whole deal of fanfare around it, and it is a bit of a formality. But obviously, when it comes to something like this, we need to know that the independent experts have given it the thumbs up, as that's just the way it works. It's the way it has to work to build the trust that we just spoke about is pretty important to it even being used. They're also asking, so I think we both agree that that's pretty fair thing to ask of the government. They're also asking NHSX to, at a minimum, NHSX is like the branch of the NHS that's also working on this, to at a minimum publicly commit that there will not be a database or databases, regardless of what controls are put in place, that would allow de-anonymization of users of its system other than those self-reporting as infected, to enable the data to be used for building, for example, to avoid enabling the data to be used for building, for example, social graphs. So to avoid them being able to map out where you've been all day, and instead, if you declare symptomatic, it will check the areas and then it will check other people, but it won't take that as data. It will merely notify people.
yeah.
And an app doesn't. There is a bit of a good old Western myth that's sort of a half-truth that just works for them, is that they have to collect data to do anything on the app. If you play a game, the game doesn't have to collect data to notify you about something. Do you know what I mean? It can look at it, but it doesn't have to take that and take ownership of that data. Do you know what I mean?
Put it into a database. You mean to store
it?
Yeah,
You can look at data. You don't have to actually build your own database of every conversation you've had between users of your app. Do you know what?
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. So it can. It's basically taking it up to the point where the app knows that it's been around someone. The app notifies someone else. It doesn't get stored.
But it doesn't
anywhere.
need to store that.
No.
Yeah. So that's another fair.
Yeah.
Demand, I guess.
Yeah. I don't
The
know
third
why.
one.
I don't know why they would need to store that information. I mean,
that would be the big
statistics.
tell, wouldn't it?
Statistical
If they're like, oh no, we need
about-
to keep it.
Well, statistical information about how many people have been in contact or have been at risk of it, or how many people it's
Sexed.
sexed.
Willy Turk.
No, but statistical information, I guess, anonymous data. By the way, this is why people should always read privacy policies. There's a guy I was at uni with, and he was big on privacy policies. Also, mined a load of Bitcoin. Do we have to beep it out? Yeah, so beep that out. Mined a lot of Bitcoin before. This was 2013, so it's before the first spike. He mined a fair bit. And using his
good on him.
I won't say who he is, but he was using his uni landlord's electric, so he paid like when you get like your uni rent,
a set fee, included.
Yeah, they do it all inclusive. It's not like I don't know if it works the same.
They don't want to trouble those students, those poor students that just can't quite add numbers.
Yeah. I don't know.
The thing is the landlord probably thought he was proper rinsing him. Like, I'll fucking charge him £100 a month for electricity, and he fucking whilst he's sitting there like Mate,
the guy is a really interesting character. He used to eat I remember I went into his room, we used to call it his lair, because he was like, went in there.
Everyone interesting has a lair.
Mate, I went into his room, and it was quite funny actually. He lived with a load of like, a load of girls they were on another course, so they were completely didn't understand computers not understand computers, but didn't understand like to the level of what he was studying. And anyway, like their whole house was really tidy, I remember. And then you go through his door, and there's like
dominoes,
projectors open, like there's like cables everywhere. And the one thing, then obviously his Bitcoin mining PC like in the corner. And then the one thing I always remember about him, he had sardines, just like I can't describe how many tins of sardines. It must be all the boy ate. Sardines.
I don't even like fish at the best of times.
But honestly, such an interesting guy. You always find them in technology, in the tech world. Really interesting people, just different.
Yeah, trust.
But yeah, going back to
privacy laws.
Yeah, he was really big at like picking apart any policies and stuff. But you should always look at these policies. Take a look through them. Companies are quite transparent with it, like Google, and they have to be.
TikTok admits that it's an arm of the Chinese government.
Yeah.
People still use it.
Yeah.
That one that changed the age of your face, that was run by a company tied to the Russian embassy.
Yeah.
Still did it.
Yeah, no, but it is reading these things. It'd just be an interesting thing for you to see what they say they're doing with your data, how much data they collect and anonymize, and like what they use it for. Take a look through it all. It's
It's not illegal to search. You're not a conspiracy theorist if you read the contract. Like you come away more comfortable knowing what you've signed up for.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It's not worth, in 5 years' time, when they finally start airing documentaries of it on BBC One and it just slaps you around the face that you've just been handing your footprint out to people, that's when you're going to be like, I wish I just read that thing.
Yeah.
I know it sounds stupid, and most of the time you don't have to worry about it, but
this is why,
if you sign that contract, they can do what they want with it.
But this is why we need regulation, and why we need like the majority of people, like we said earlier, the majority of people don't know about this stuff. You'll turn your iPhone
they wouldn't.
on.
Where do you find it? Yeah.
You'll click your lock button, and you'll think that your phone has gone to sleep and it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the biggest mistake.
Yeah. But because a lot of people don't know what's going on. Like that's why we need people that are responsible to manage and regulate it. Make sure that people are kept in check. But then again, people at the top making the laws on it don't know either. Do you know what I mean?
It's like what you said about OK Google earlier on.
Oh yeah.
And said about how that stores your voice
do that.
data.
If you've got
if
you've got an Android device under the GDPR. That was something as well to mention earlier when you spoke about the GDPR. So under the GDPR, data has to be
They're
processed.
The EU guidelines, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the ones that I mean, they still apply to us right now, but
aren't they? They're also tied into our human rights, aren't they? GDPR. It's a right to privacy, isn't it?
That's it. I think so. Yeah, there's lots of implications with it, but some of the big differences between it and the Data Protection Act. One of them is that we have to be able to data has to be processed by a human being. So go look that up. It's that a human has to look. So when they've got that person that's going to phone you up and talk to you about it. that will be probably part of the reason. It's probably because of that part.
Because there would be a person at a computer that would get a ding.
Yeah, or at least like the computers can't be making automated decisions on things. Because there was a big Finder. You can whack it in the what's it called, that little
we'll whack it up.
Whack it up below. But there's one on Google in Spain. Had a lot of. I'll let you read into it. And it's a lot of an interesting read about Google in Spain and the laws there about automation. But yeah, there's that part of it. The fact it needs to be automated, and what were we saying as well with the GDPR? The brain's gone.
Oh, okay, Google.
Oh, yeah. So you can request from a company. Another one of your rights is that you can request from a company that they remove your data, for one, and two, that any data they have on you, to request that data, you have a right to that data. So one of the really interesting things you can do with Google, and you can do it with all Facebook and all these people, is
Twitter.
There's a way you can request your data. So a lot of people have been requesting their Google data. It takes a while to prepare it. Obviously, they prepare it in a zip file for you, or I can't remember exactly how it comes for Google. But anyway, you download it, and if you're an Android user, I'm not sure if they still do it now, but when I last checked, there was a load of voice recordings of OK Googles. Did that just do it to you? I don't know if that woke your phone up. Will it do it? It won't wake your phone up if you say it now, will it?
OK Google. No, my phone.
But all of them recordings and what you ask it are stored somewhere.
And similar to the using data to make Alexa better, they use that data to improve the services.
Yeah, and that means...
I'll say that. They're probably doing it. I'm just...
Yeah.
There's no guarantees in this life, boy.
We don't want to get iked. We've got to be careful with what we say. That's a new verb now, to get iked.
Yeah.
We've had
to Hancock. to Hancock something is to F it up. To Ike something is to put your tin hat on. Yeah. Although I don't want to say that, because
I mean to get iked.
Didn't
he get removed from the old YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got iked. He's been zucked.
Did the access to your data thing, did that come from the Facebook trials? Because I do remember it, not generally, but I remember at least Facebook coming out and having to give people access to their data afterwards. Was that what triggered it, or was it already the case?
I may stand to be corrected, but I'm pretty sure that is GDPR. GDPR, you can request your data. The other thing is as well that...
it is, because I remember that at work, and all the data we collect, we can't look at, but customers can request at any time. So we have to lock it away somewhere where no one can touch it.
Yeah.
But we have access to it as well.
Yeah, this says individuals can get access to their data from a given firm, including their employer, by filling a subject access request. And the GDPR will eliminate the cost of subject access requests, and so you can't be charged for it. And the required response time it was reduced from 40, or will be. This is okay, or probably was at the time this article is saying, from 40 to 30 days. So they've got 30 days to get your information to you. But yeah,
because something Edward Snowden said before about how it's always, devices are always listening in some way or another. My little, we're delving into personal theory here. This is no means fact, but I always thought, because people, I don't know what it's like with Apple users like yourself. I've always had Androids because I'm a cheap ass, but and I buy refurbished phones. I know I'm one of them geezers.
Wait, I'm still running an older iPhone. I don't keep up with it, but yeah, Karen.
Nah, it's a lot of people with Androids, have had themselves, not even heard about, but they themselves have had the experience of having a conversation with someone, opening up the phone, and then having an email by a company related to, or all of the adverts that you see over the next hour or so being completely related to what you've spoken about, even if you've heard about it for the first time in that conversation. So it wouldn't have been something you've Googled before, or anything that any other company might have had data on. The only way that can happen to so many people is if OK Google's using that data for advertising.
I mean, you would be surprised the amount that you can predict about people. The more data you feed something, the more accurate predictions can get. Because I mean,
but I mentioned BlackRock, as in I typed in BlackRock on my computer and I got an email from BlackRock an hour later.
Yeah, it is.
And I'd never heard of the company before.
Yeah, I know that.
With my mum, we was talking about a holiday destination somewhere in Greece. I opened my phone up. There's an advert for a holiday to that part of Greece.
Yeah, it's called targeting advertisements, and they target you based on a few on things that they. Well, I mean, it's not always as sinister as that. Like there was
because I always get trainers and Liverpool stuff. I always get Liverpool and trainer adverts. Well, because that's what I browse.
I don't know what my adverts would be because I don't get adverts, but they.
Neither do I, but all the bloody newspapers require you to stop using because we get all of our money from ads. I don't care who you get your money from. Fucking journalists, man. Get paid a salary. Jesus.
That's why I don't read the news. But yeah, there was like a girl in America. I think it was. I probably stand to be corrected, but I think it was Target who had predicted her pregnancy before she knew she was pregnant, based on her buying habits. So it's like,
well, they predicted a pandemic using like computer modeling.
Oh, okay, right. What they
like for now, and then it happened,
yeah.
And it's just like fucking hell.
But this was that based on like previous data they had and seen like ways that things had progressed before, and then.
Yeah, it wasn't even a guess that there was going to be a pandemic. It was that there was going to be an event that was going to change business. And a couple of firms, investment firms, had actually moved money around in anticipation of something happening. And then it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell that worked. But you know what I mean, that's just a wacky example, innit? Of like, they don't have to be listening to your conversation to know.
The way that the prediction of this girl's pregnancy in America... the way that they predicted that was they looked at her shopping habits, and subliminally she was buying certain things that it had recognised that people had bought
when they became pregnant.
Yeah, and found a correlation in the data. These people bought this stuff.
That's so clever.
And that was like a club card. I think it's like a club card scheme. You know how they recommend you things and they send you recommendations based on what you buy.
Vouchers and stuff. Yeah.
I think it was a similar scheme to that that they collected the data from, and then it recommended her that here's £10 off of or dollars
nappies.
Off nappies and that. And she's like, well, why do I need that? Oh well, because you were buying folic
your
acid. Because you were having
tomorrow night.
Right on time. But yeah, it is crazy. So like, even if you don't think that the data that's being collected now could be used for anything, like
it could be used for anything.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be sinister, and I do want to be careful to not just the more sinister examples are just more fun. We're not saying that that's what's going to happen. It's just interesting how amazing the technology really is, and the things you really can do when you just put data into a computer, and the modelling systems that they have now. And it is.
Well, you remember I was doing the predictions. I stopped doing it because it was one just from what.
Oh, what at the start?
Yeah, you remember when I was doing it? I was getting them
at every point.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
A wizard.
Yeah, I was predicting the
I like that egotistical yawn then. It was me all along, boys.
No, I was predicting the number of new cases being reported.
Whilst the government was pretending not to know about an illness altogether.
That was long.
You was here predicting the case numbers.
Do you remember? I think how many weeks? I think it was like, and this isn't like
that must have been end of Feb, start of March ish.
I think because it's what drove me to isolate early, I mean, we even got stick. Me and you got stick.
I know. From everybody in the whole world would have looked at us and gone pathetic.
Yeah, I know. I remember when because you said it from early about being safe, just to not take up a hospital bed, and it wasn't even the fact that you were saying that you were scared of dying from it. It was that you were saying like, look, don't just be safe not to take up hospital beds because they're going to be there are a shortage and we're going to need them.
Yeah.
If you think
we need them all the time.
If you think just me on an average laptop, MacBook, big up Apple.
Yeah.
No, but on an average laptop can predict and work out that with numbers of like how many new cases are going to come up a day, and then work it out for a few weeks. I mean, when I looked at it on like a long-term spread, that's what made me stop looking at it, because it ended up being quite depressing. Thinking, well, you can see the crap that's about to come, and it's just like I don't really want to. I wish I just
throughout February and early March, I was sort of. I mean, even earlier than that, I was saying just get a little bit extra at shopping and that. Just like, do you know what I mean? Get prepared and that before everyone else finds out and panics, which obviously is what happened.
But if you think, if I can do that and could predict with the level of accuracy that I was each day.
Think what a whole office of computers specifically set up for that purpose.
Yes, and AIs and a lot more complex systems can do, and are doing.
Well, this is it. AI requires data.
Yeah, it needs to learn
to work, and so good, bad, evil, ugly, beautiful, good. We're going to need data. We're going to need to use data. We are going to need to give data.
But that's the thing. If you look at like graphics cards, they're available for anyone to get, and there's a lot of this AI stuff and deep learning can be run on graphics cards, on GPUs. I'll big him up, Sammy, again. Like his PC is pretty powerful. Like he's got, I think,
bad man in the PC world.
I think he was removing one of them last time I spoke to him, but I think he's probably got about 3 or 4 graphics cards in his computer. But
I've barely got one. Mine's not. You probably couldn't even call it a graphics card. It's just a thing.
My mate sent me a picture yesterday on WhatsApp. He was playing because just to go off on tangent quickly about that whole being greedy.
That's right. We've been doing it all day.
Being greedy with processing power. He's got he built his PC, a new one recently, and Minecraft is available in a Windows 10 version and a Java version and a standalone thing. So he downloaded the Windows 10 one, which I think runs in C++, and then the other one, which is its Java variant. And he had his 2 screens up and he was playing 2 instances of Minecraft at once. So that's just greedy.
Just because you can.
I mean, it's not Minecraft's really it's not really an intensive, resource-intensive game. So
yeah, loads of gamers watching this right now are scoffing like Minecraft. My little finger could run Minecraft.
Run it on a potato.
My potato could.
A calculator. But going back to that whole thing about the technology being accessible. If it fell into the hands of criminals, this data, what could they do with it? That's why the integrity of it. I know you might think, oh, why do you care if someone knows that you're infected, or why do you care if someone knows this and that about me? Because to us as humans, there's only I'm not going to really.
It affects politics on a big level as well.
The main thing is as a human being, right? We're thinking about it too much as humans here. Like if I know your eye color, date of birth, where you grew up, and your favourite flavour of crisps.
Ice cream.
Or whatever, yeah.
Ice cream.
I can't predict that you're pregnant. No, I'm a human being. My brain only works so fast and can only recognise patterns and trends in a certain amount of data.
And you only have your data set to compare it to, rather than a million.
And there's only so many that I can remember and process at once. Yeah. So we need to stop thinking about it in the way that we think about how humans would look at data. Because say like, oh, I'm a non-smoker, I'm below the age of 30, and I have brown eyes. To me that's just arbitrary. There's nothing I can pick out of that. But if you've got lots of data, and you're doing that from a computer's perspective or an AI's perspective, there could be trends that it notices in data like that. Oh, this person that did that eventually ended up buying that. So shall we advertise that to them and see whether they buy that? They're more likely to buy that,
Yeah.
So it's one of them things. It might look like this data, or you might not think that it's got any significance.
Well, I think another good
combined with a lot more.
Yeah, exactly that. And with politics, it doesn't need a lot of data. And if you look at, I don't know, well, I'll put the picture up because I have got it saved, of the amount of adverts that ended up getting banned during the election. Over 5,000 adverts were banned for lying, essentially, from the Tory party. Okay, 0 from their closest competitor. Okay, so the party that won lied the most. If they know that you're a non-smoker, they can target you with an ad that says, on average, Labour voters are more likely to smoke. You're going to vote Tory. Something completely unrelated to the political noose, the policy, anything like that.
Yeah.
They can just target, because they know that most people aren't into politics, but what they are is scrolling on social media. So if you scroll on social media, you might not particularly like the Tories or the Lib Dems or Labour, but they could say everybody but the Greens does this, and you go, I better use my vote next week then. I better vote for the Greens because I can't let these lot in. And they did it with Corbyn. Corbyn's a terrorist. I don't know much about politics, but and do you know what I mean? My dad's a Labour man, but I can't let a terrorist in. And do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be true. It can be taken down, but all they need is one bit of information politically.
In that,
everything else, they do need a big database in that, but politically, all they need to know is one thing about you, and they can lie to you.
Well, mate, take that one step further and look at the whole Cambridge Analytica situation.
Well, this is it.
That's it. It's exactly that, targeting people. I mean, it still does happen. I think I did a couple of adverts recently for the businesses on Facebook. But you can do some really, in fact, I'll have a little look at it in a minute as well.
Oh, what? When you boost your audience?
Yeah, when you boost
stuff.
it, it's like...
you can target that
You can choose people who are more likely to travel. You can choose people who have travelled in the last 6 months, things like that. You can choose people... So, for example, for what we do...
And that's just an ordinary... business.
Yeah.
Well, not an ordinary business, it's a wicked business. But you know what I mean, innit?
Yeah, but if
anyone can access that.
Yeah, anyone that is like, as I say, I wouldn't say that I'm anything different to anyone else. I'm just a regular person.
But we could target this at someone.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you've got access to all of the analytics.
Oh, we just targeted you.
We know who's watching. Yeah. But with all of them and that analytics data. I mean, Google did change, and Google have, whether it's through the fact of pressure from governments or what, whether they've done it off their own back or whether they would have done it off their own back if it wasn't for pressure of governments. But a lot of their analytics API is restricted to so as to go on the analytics now. I can only...
They give you a lot more freedom to choose what they take from you now.
Yeah, and I mean, even as a business, there's only so much that we can see. So if I go to audience, for example, I can't see demographics because that isn't in our privacy policy. I don't need to know who's browsing the website. The only thing I use it for is to know how many products have sold, so we can, make sure we've got that in stock, our most popular things, so that people aren't let down. And just like user experience of the website, which pages lead to which pages. If I know that people are trying to get to this page here, obviously we've got 2 active users right now though. That's quite cool.
Sick.
And you see a map of.
It's me and you.
No, you can see active users. You can see what pages they're browsing and things like that. Which is it all has to go in the. There's a couple of people looking at. That's quite cool. But I'm not going to say what they're looking at because that would be exposing the data, wouldn't it? You can see their location.
You are a good business owner. You are.
No, but
trustworthy.
Just see that how I'm building the trust.
Building the brand. He's building the brand.
I'm making it more trustworthy. No, but but the way that we use it is knowing which pages people want to get to, so we can design the experience, a better experience for them. I don't need to know where you're from. Okay, maybe location data if I'm going to offer the website in another language. That's a legitimate reason
that's
for
market
it,
research, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're always going to have market research.
But what Google are quite good at, so if I was to go to audience, for example, and like an overview of my audience, I can't see anything here on demographics because it tells me that I need to enable this.
Pay more.
I need to enable it, and it will tell me their ages when it starts to collect that information about them, but only if I update my privacy policy to say that I'm collecting it. And in order to do that, I have to give a legal basis for why I'm collecting that information about you. Before you, you know, when you click on that, I agree to the privacy policy and things. You're agreeing for them to collect your information under certain they're called legal bases or bases.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, base guy, you can fuck my bitch, race guy.
So you have to give a
base side.
You have to be you have to give a reason for why you're collecting that information and how long you hold that information for, and what that information is needed for.
Ours was 6 months at my old job. That's how much we held the data for, and then we'd get rid of it unless they requested it.
Okay, yeah. 6 months. I think it's until.
But that's we had paper documents.
Okay, yeah.
That they'd sign and stuff, so it's a little bit different.
But it comes down to
it's a bit harder to get rid of that data safely.
Well, you have to shred it all properly, don't you? And,
yeah.
But that's it. It comes down to how and this is going to tie back into the app, by the way. This is going to come back in full circle. It comes down to how relevant the data is anymore. That's one of the things. Like, do you need to know what somebody bought from you 10 years ago? Do you really need that?
Yeah.
No. Get rid of that. Well, if you don't need it, get rid of it. If it's like, I don't know, some insurance document for a house 10 years ago or something like that.
yeah. Your mortgage.
Yeah.
5 years ago, fuck it.
But having that data there, even if you're not going to use it maliciously, having that in a database, and this is where it ties back to the whole thing, having that data there for so long means that in the future, if that is to get compromised, you've got all of this backlog of data, right, that you could then feed to an AI, which again, we've already said that in the worst case scenario, you could run on your computer. I was watching one the other day. Go watch on Computer File. It's a proper geeky channel. I love them. Number File and Computer File. Big up Tom Scott as well. But go watch them because they've got a system running. I think I can't remember how many video cards are in it. But anyway, they do like a thing of showing how they crack passwords in a database, and it's ridiculous. It's not something that's so out of the reach of us as people. You know, like we could between us, me and you could. I think we could rustle
Shall
up.
we? Should we just fuck this off?
I think we could do a round and see whether we could rustle up enough to get one of these computers. But no, but we could afford something that could potentially do that stuff. So imagine this data. What happens to it? 5 years from now. What happens to the tools when the job is complete? This app, people aren't like. When was the last time you deleted an app from your phone? Like I've still got Live Score on my phone. There's no football on it at the minute. What's the point of me having that app there? All I can see is the games that would have been played and cry about it.
I only just clocked that I've been paying for Sky Sports this whole time. And I just went on there, 33 quid a month.
But that is the thing though, isn't it? It's like people will leave this on their devices. The data is going to be there for years after this is over. And when things go back to normal, one of the things people keep saying.
To be honest, I'd be very surprised if there wasn't some sort of part of the privacy policy, whatever, is that their policy, that their privacy policy is going to say, well, we need to keep this data for any future outbreak.
Okay, yeah.
That's to me, that the first thing that I thought, as soon as you mentioned about the time aspect, I thought, they're just going to tell us that there might be another one. Yeah. And then people are just going to go, all right.
And then the legal basis is that they need to keep hold of that for a bit longer.
And it makes sense. It does make sense. So they'll get it, and people will buy into it. But
yeah, so that's one of the
go on.
one of the things to consider is the fact that there is stuff out there that and again, like, it's only going to become more accessible. This AI stuff is only going to become more accessible. The data's out there already.
The first person you give it to doesn't have to be the malicious user. It can change. The data can change hands. Like, data sets are bought by. We forget how many huge businesses there are out in the world that aren't the brands that we recognise. And they've all got they're paying companies for data. I mean, most of the people watching this may have probably watched the Cambridge Analytica stuff when it was happening. And on the topic of Cambridge Analytica, I've got a little passage here I'd like to read you and the audience, just to give you all a bit of context of who might be using this data, because it's not a total unknown as to who's been working on it. So, who built the app? The NHS, partly. There was rumours that a company called Faculty AI were doing the modelling research that will configure and optimise the NHS X app. But on Friday the 1st of May, Faculty AI's co-founding chief executive Mark Warner wrote in the Times that, despite claims by some, we are not working on the contract tracing app. So it's not them. Oh, no, it is. Thanks to the Byline Times, and I will link the article, they haven't managed to pull the wool over on this one. As a paper published by Oxford University's Big Data Institute, the paper we've been reading from today, appears to totally contradict this flat denial from Warner, confirming that Faculty was directly involved in the modelling research that will configure and optimise the NHSX app. So, the paper describing the Institute's model released on the 16th of April, the Oxford one, identifies 3 faculty employees as its co-authors, 2 faculty senior data scientists, along with faculty customer engineer Bryn Matthias. According to an official Oxford University press notice, the epidemiological model developed by the Big Data Institute team with faculty support will help configure a contact tracing app for coronavirus. The model offers several safe configurations to introduce an app and a framework to optimise the app after its release. They lied about it because, well, there's got to be a reason, and guess what? Yak knows what it is. Mark Warner's brother, so the chief executive of Faculty AI, his brother, Ben Warner, is currently a number 10 advisor on digital solutions, who as a formal principal at Faculty, previously known as ASI Data Science to our data experts out there, worked closely with Dominic Cummings on Vote Leaves modelling. At the time, this modelling was being overseen by Canadian data firm Aggregate IQ, AIQ, which in turn was owned by notorious data mining firm Cambridge Analytica. So, last year, the final report of a select committee parliamentary inquiry concluded the work of AIQ highlights the fact that data has been and is still being used extensively by private companies to target people, often in a political context, in order to influence their decisions. Both the Warner brothers and Dominic Cummings have attended meetings of the government's Scientific Advisory Group on Emergencies, so the SAGE meetings you've all been hearing about. So these guys that are lying about having anything to do with the data, the modelling used for the data app, also happen to be related to advisors of the government who also happen to be workmates of Dominic Cummings, who all just happened to work for the same companies together, who all just happen to be the companies abusing our data rights. And prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, along with several other companies, the firm had a contract with the UK government to build a £250 million AI lab for NHSX. Over a period of 18 months, Faculty has had at least 7 government contracts worth nearly £1 million. I'm not telling you what to think here. I'm merely putting out what I think is important context. The people that you wouldn't have wanted to do this are the ones doing it.
It's like
Literally.
it's like pantomime villains, isn't it? Like politics.
It is.
Just
It's
been
just
like
the fact
for
that no
last-
one realises that no one. Oh, it's the same guy that fucked us over last year. Oh well, he's probably changed. Like, do you know what I mean? What's he doing there? Their company has been thrown to the. Do you know what I mean? That should be buried in history. Cambridge Analytica. It's a scandal. Now they're working in the government. They're in on the SAGE meetings, which are supposed to be between scientists.
Well,
It's
yeah, it's one of them things, isn't it?
everything we've been alluding to.
It reminds me of the whole thing of Hannibal Lecter when he's in the
The famous scene.
the one when he's like, a good society will either put me to use or kill me. It reminds me of that. The whole the fact that they're using these people. I don't know, because of the times that it's in it. Are they using them because it's like, well, you know, we need it now, and
It's because they all know what they're going to do with the data after. That's what I think it is. Personally, though, that's a personal opinion.
don't get iked. Got to be
Yeah.
careful. No, it is. Yeah.
Like, surely there's better firms with better reputations that aren't also related to you and aren't also your previous workmates. There's got to be one.
Yeah. Well, I guess
know there
the
is.
thing is, regardless of the ethical.
Tories sorting their mates out.
Yeah, but it is. But the other thing is, regardless of the ethical standpoint of it, or looking at it through the ethics glasses, they were pretty good at what they did, regardless of whether it's good. Regardless of the, I'd say, the ethical implications of it, but they were pretty bloody good at what they did in order to, you know, use the data in that way, and use it to aid what they did.
But does that mean they'd be as good as anyone else at producing a fairer use of data?
Well, yeah, that's it. It's one of these things that there's. I think a lot of this stuff.
Someone that can sell crack well isn't necessarily going to be a good car salesman.
Yeah, true.
Or a businessman, do you know what I mean?
But I suppose...
what you're saying is completely true, though. Cambridge Analytica fucking smashed.
They did.
And if they hadn't have been caught, they'd still be absolutely smashing it.
They to be fair, they found loopholes in systems. It was unethical, but
it's unethical, but I think we can both have respect for the idea of questioning, finding loopholes, things like that. It's part of the human journey.
Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, he's got this underlying respect for him, hasn't he? Even though he's a criminal.
Yeah, 100%.
He's a clever guy.
100%.
But it is interesting to think at times like this, because one of the sort of consensus at the minute is these unprecedented times. The amount of times I've said that in emails or seen it in emails, I tried to not say it too much, but the amount of times I've seen
it's nearly as bad as the Blitz or wartime.
The amount of times I've had, like, hope you're keeping safe. These unprecedented times. If I search my inbox right now for unprecedented times, guarantee I'm going to get at least 60 hits.
It won't take any emails out. It will just be the same
exactly.
list. It won't change.
But the in these unprecedented times, it's interesting to see how the government is behaving, because it's almost like we're seeing like a Cold War government again.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? It's
back to they're running the country through PR.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like we're seeing the country being run in this really weird sort of like, right. It's like you were saying, we need time to, people need time to see what the proposals are with this before it goes through. Yeah. Right?
Everything's in the context. The devil is in the detail.
But in like, you know, like in times of war, things become, like they say innovation is a lot more prevalent because people are sort of rushing to find things like
the ultimate competition.
The vaccine, for example, people are racing for that right now, and I guarantee
that's what worries me. People are spending a lot more money and time on a vaccine than understanding the actual virus.
Yeah, it's
I don't get that.
Yeah, well, a vaccine doesn't necessarily. I don't know the implications of it. I think the vaccine needs to work with other protocols in place as well, doesn't it? It's not like this magic.
They need a consensus.
It's not this magic thing that completely stops it. There's vaccines for flu, isn't there? And we still get that every.
You still need one every year. Yeah, exactly. I do find it weird that there's more effort going into finding the cure than to understanding what we're trying to cure.
But
that just doesn't make scientific sense to me, innit?
But it is. It's
because there's hardly any consensus.
But it's weird at this time, in this unprecedented time, as we said,
UPT.
I feel like that's going to become the new like LOL, because it's used so much. It's going to be the new abbreviation.
LOL UPT.
LOL in this UPC. IDK. You know it's UPC. UPT.
IKR.
But yeah, it's interesting to see the way that governments are acting, because you know, like in times of war, you would like overlook things with like criminals. If someone's good at what they're doing and you're able to help you out, you'd use what you have around you, wouldn't you? It's almost like we're seeing, you know, like almost like, not going to over dramatize it, but almost like Cold War efforts in a lot of ways to do things and make do and get things going.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, it's weird how they're framing this idea of the whole economy health thing. It seems like they're not doing either, if you know what I mean. It seems like they're doing the best they can to confuse people on anything health related, and they're creating these apps that have no, at least obvious benefit. Yet they're also not doing a lot to help the economy.
You know,
so I just kind of think, are they just trying to do what they think might make us a bit happy? They're just trying to like, I don't know. They might, I don't know. What should we do? Whatever they ask for.
I think they do. You know, they're keeping a lot from us. Like, there's a lot that we're not allowed to know. There's a lot that NHS workers have been told. Not that I know any NHS workers that have told me this, but that have been told that they're not allowed to say anything about certain things. Apparently.
I've seen evidence of it from managers in NHS trusts. So
yeah, but
it's
the
real.
ones that you know, obviously.
No.
But yeah, that stuff, like saying that you're not allowed to say, there's a lot that's being kept from us, and yeah, I think they would obviously like do things that are going to sort of help ease people into, you know, make us have this sense of safety.
Do you think they should be a bit more honest about it though? Like, because like you said with the Cold War footing, people understood that it was the price to pay, rather than at the moment there's such a confusion between like, is it worth going back to work? Is it not worth going back to work? Because you can't really quantify the enemy.
What is there to hide?
Yeah, but this is what I don't get. This is what I don't get. If they were honest, surely it would be easier.
You know what is interesting to look into on this whole, like the way that governments are playing roles in certain things, is have a look at the price of oil and stocks, right?
Yeah,
and have a look at some of Trump's comments about an Iranian warship, right? And like the thing that I always think is, I wonder how many. What's her name? Is it Ivanka or whatever?
Ivanka's the daughter.
Yeah. So I wonder if she gets a call. Hey Ivanka, buy a load of. Watch this, what I'm about to do, and then just buy a load of shares. And then he says he's going to blow him out of the water. She buys a bunch of shares, and then he goes and starts talking through peace treaties or whatever with them. It always like times like this.
They reckon that Elon does that quite.
Oh yeah, mate. I've got to say, like, out of all of the billionaires, I know your stance on the evil billionaires, but I do think he's quite funny, that guy. But
yeah, I hate that. I love him.
He's such a meme.
Oh, he's got a new Joe Rogan out as well. I need to watch that.
He's such a. He just called his kid. What was it?
I don't even fucking know.
X something or other, or mate, the guy.
The AE joined together.
That's it.
And then
X something.
An equation.
Yeah. He's definitely a. We need people like him, disruptors. We do need them, to be honest with you. But yeah, like he said that Tesla's stock was like worthless. I don't know why he bothered buying it. And you know that Grimes was buying a load of it when it went down.
Yeah, 100%.
You know she's buying up stocks and doing it in XYZ's name or whatever he's called, or she, or what is the baby called?
No. That's another funny thing as well, is that the wife, Grimes, she tweeted that they weren't going to tell anyone the gender of the baby, and then like 5 minutes later, someone asked Elon, and he just put boy. And it's just funny because it's all on the same Twitter platform, isn't it? Like you literally just scrolling down the timeline and you just see them two, just like it's so crazy.
But isn't it funny to think how much of an effect at times like this? I don't know really the way to explain the way I think about it, but isn't it weird to see how like fake in a way, or how influenced all this and made up this whole like economy stuff is?
Yeah.
Like,
well, the fact that all the jobs are being lost, but the stock market's like, we're fucking booming. It's like, that shouldn't happen. It just shows the disconnect, and this idea that they are one and the same isn't true. It's humans dictating it. The economy isn't a computer. If you do something, the effect isn't a must. It's a choice. It's another big Western myth that it's all controlled by some supercomputer that knows what's fair and all justifying. No, it's a person at every single point of the journey of money. It's a person going, nah, I'd prefer more profit. Nah, I'd prefer more profit. Nah, I'd prefer... At no point do they have to take more profit, for example. Do you know what I mean? It's like businesses when they say, if I pay a minimum wage, then I might take less money home. But that's not that's a choice. It's a choice. You don't have to take less money, more money, whatever. You can pay your staff more or less. It's a choice. There isn't this like direct correlation between like, oh, the stocks are doing bad, that must mean the economy's fucked. Or like this idea that like the government's borrowed now, so now we're going to spend the next 20 years paying it off. We don't have to, but they'll make that choice.
It's how much have they actually borrowed? Was it a statistic? I was going to have to. This is hearing it through someone else saying to me, but I think there was something like 10 billion a day or something like that, or it was 10 something a day. I think it was 10 billion a day or something.
The US just hit 250 trillion pounds of debt.
Yeah.
What the fuck's debt?
Yeah,
what is debt?
It does make you
what
question in times like these, like how. I know it's probably going to sound really ignorant, but like how. What if we were all to just say, like,
nah.
Yeah.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
We could. This is again. It's like the idea when people say, "Oh, you couldn't take over Parliament because." No, don't, please, put the gun away, put the knife away. But this idea that you can't change a system because it's already in place, is such a lie. The person, whoever, like, feudalism was before this. They didn't say, "Oh no, we can't change feudalism because we're already living under it." That doesn't make sense, innit? But this idea that like you can't change the economy for the better, or you can't democratize it a bit more, and things like this. No. We can't do that. We can't do that. Oh no, it's just fucking crackheads.
It does make you think, doesn't it? I think that is definitely something about our generation.
Money's fake. Well, it's all fake.
Well, this is what I mean, like with this whole Bitcoin.
Trade is real. Business is real. Money is fake. Currency is bullshit.
This is the whole thing about Bitcoin, isn't it? And all these questions that are arising because of that. But I think our generation definitely is definitely sort of different in the way that. Did you just disconnect? I think you did. Still there?
Oh, your mic's going. I can't hear you.
Hold on, I'm going to give you. There we go. You're back in the room.
I can hear that your mic's carrying on. I just can't hear it. Oh, I can hear it again now.
We're back
yeah, I could hear it through the phone.
We had some technical difficulties. That's we're being hacked by Elon, I think. You heard us chatting shit about.
I said. I will say that I don't mean that.
Yeah. We'll bleep it out. We'll bleep it out. Yeah. But it does make you realise how not how fake it all is, but how like delicate all of this stuff is. That like it is
a house built on sand.
It is, but it's all controlled by, like you say, like people's opinion on things. Like, oh, I don't think this is worth this much anymore, so therefore this is this or whatever. Yeah, like Elon Musk saying, well, I don't think that our stocks are really worth much. they go down, he buys a bunch more, or people buy.
Now they're back to normal.
Yeah, then it goes back to normal. Or he smokes a spliff on that. Was it? Was it on? Where did he smoke the spliff? Was it on?
Joe Rogan. That was his first Joe Rogan, isn't it?
And people,
Mate, do you know what it is? Like again, I do like Elon, but that he's you get it's just this thing in it, like, because he's the clever man, rules don't apply to him because he's the boss. So he can smoke a joint on something that gets streamed to like a quarter of America, but his workers get fired if they smoke weed.
yeah.
But his workers, without the workers, his ideas are just cuckoo man ideas.
Yeah.
He came up with an idea, and an actual scientist proved it.
Yeah, put it into practice.
And we're noticing that with them wanting us to get back into our jobs. It's not so we can get money, it's because they're not earning money, because it's you that earns them money. Without the worker, there is no product.
There's no tax as well.
But with a worker, without the idea man, you can still have a product. So it's like, do you know what I mean? This idea of competition, it needs to be competitive, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's
rather than just like, it's a competition. Trust me, it's a competition, but it not really being.
The other thing is, and that's the whole way up of like when this whole started. The whole thing started, the whole way up of, well, do we sacrifice the economy or do we sacrifice people's health? Or what do we do? Like, why was that even a question for one?
I know. It's people, but people have more, like, money's fucked people up. Like, it just has, it's proper done our psyche in.
I wonder as well.
Our perspective is all from money and profit.
The other thing that's...
Rather than that just being a part of life.
The other thing... Is that you or me?
What, make it? I think it's me sounding like a robot.
I think there may be someone speaking, but like, this whole thing like is really weird, like, because I can hear myself.
Yeah, I thought I heard someone... I thought my bird had just come home a minute ago, but I can't see
the ghost in the machine, mate. We've been hacked.
Wait. No.
Is it me? Hold on, I'll see if it's me. I don't know. Mate, there's a ghost in the machine somewhere.
It's Elon trying to talk to us.
Wait, was Ghost in the Shell was set in 2025, so...
Yeah, this could be the prequel.
Yeah. Well,
my memory card's about.
I was about to go. Well,
yeah.
We've had a.
Thank you very much.
We've had a good session. We've spoken about pretty much covered everything.
I feel like we have, and everything that we haven't covered is because it's in progress, isn't it? And I suppose when new announcements come out, we can discuss them again.
And we haven't got H to regulate it as well. That's another reason we haven't.
Yeah,
we've got
horrid Always making us talk about certain topics because that's what people want. Well, we don't want what the people want. It's official.
There we go. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, there's someone talking on mine. Let me shut my door quick. I knew it was me.
Shut up, man.
Shut up, guys. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I think we've covered everything. Anything we haven't covered, or anything you want to know more on.
Everything we haven't commented covered.
COVID.
COVID. Oh my god.
Covered.
No, bang on though. Anything that you've heard about that we haven't discussed, please comment so that we can tie it in with the next show we do on this, as there probably will be big progressions in the future. Thanks for coming on, bruh. I hope you don't die of COVID.
I'll try my best.
And if you
not to.
do feel symptomatic, make sure you let the app know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'll make sure
like, comment, subscribe.
COVID.
Not you, the audience.
19.
Nat's already done that. Newt's already done that. Don't tell this government.
No, but yeah, I think we've